in a chair, steam on a coffee, breaking down tape, sleep looking costly, green in his notes, birds on his cap, talking about trenches, blitz, block, snap, Bo got a ring, West Coast breeze, stories from confetti still stuck in his sleeves, James C's black gold, whole town rides, Big C talk waves where the tide line slides, it's that Sunday morning podcast, go on, turn it up loud, from the first hot take to the last cold crowd, Mitch, Bo, James, Big C talk ball, every call, every draw, every brawl, every ball, if you love this game, you know this sound, hardcore sports, we run this town, oh yeah, Mitch say Philly fly, Bo say skyline, James pull stats right off the sideline, Big C laugh, talk speed on the seam, whole squad argue same love, one dream, red zone rush, fourth down hush, overtime talk, heart rate crush, from east to the west, down coast to steel, it's a barbershop talk, just mics, just real, Sunday morning podcast, oh, turn it up loud, from the first hot take to the last cold crowd, Mitch, Bo, James, Big C talk ball, every call, every draw, every brawl, every brawl, if you love this game, you know this sound, hardcore sports, we run this town, oh yeah, call in, tap in, let the takes fly, we debate, celebrate, ride or die, same gridiron, 4 different views, one game, one love, that's hard, it's that Sunday morning podcast, oh, turn it up loud, from the first hot take to the last cold crowd, Mitch, Bo, James, Big C, talk ball, every call, every call, every draw, every ball, if you love this game, you know this sound, hardcore sports, we run this town, hardcore,
What up, what up, what up, football fans? Welcome to another episode of the NFL Sunday Morning Show brought to you by Hardcore Sports. I'm here with my guys, Nikki and James. How you guys doing this morning? Happy Father's Day to all those dads out there.
Doing well, doing well. Happy Father's Day to you guys as well. I only got dogs and a cat, so I don't know if I can really claim father status.
Hey, you know that you got your fur babies count, I think. You know. Someone's got to take care of them.
Yeah, so it's a great morning, man. Great to be on here talking NFL with you guys. It's a nice day outside. And we, of course, happy Father's Day, y'all.
This summer will be hot, man. So let's get into it. You know, the big news coming out last few days is the Jeffrey Simmons deal. The Tennessee Titans signing Jeffrey Simmons, star defensive tackle, to a massive contract. Do you think this is a smart move for the Titans, considering where their roster currently is? Do you think they should have maybe tried to see if they could have shipped him out of town, maybe gain draft capital for him, or do you think this is a smart move? And he's still 28 years old. He's still, hopefully, I mean, I'm sure they plan on being competitive in the next couple years, and he should still be a decent player by then. Do you think this is a smart move or a bad signing by the Titans? Whatever one wants to take it.
I think it's a good move. I thought the money wasn't too ridiculous for a defensive tackle. There's other guys making a lot more than what he got paid, I thought. So I feel like the value's there, and at 28 for the position, defensive linemen do have a habit of playing into their mid-30s. You don't need to have that elite speed that you do at other positions. So if you lose a step or two of quickness, it's not as detrimental as a defensive tackle as it is like an edge guy or a corner or a wide receiver or some of these other positions. So I feel like it's really important that you have guys to build around on each side of the ball. So you're counting on the offense with Cam Ward. You're counting on that being your central piece over there. You got to have somebody that can be the rallying cry. There's got to be somebody that you're building pieces around, and you can say, hey, this is our guy. And when the crap hits the fan out there, he's the one that's going to get everybody a gut check and get them back in the game. And he's the one that's going to get that tackle on 4th and 1, or, in the goal line situation, or whatever it may be. Like, you've got to have those kind of dudes to me. So I think at 28 years old, you absolutely lock them up. And if you're counting on trying to get the team to a place where you can compete and get into the playoffs, you're hoping to have a quarterback on his rookie contract, which you have. You better have a stout defense. That's what the last 2 years have taught us. The Super Bowl winners had stout defenses. So don't get rid of your best defensive piece. Lock him up and start bringing in guys around him, and hopefully he can bring and elevate the rest of the room and bring the talent level up. Maybe even teach some other guys around him a thing or two of what has led to his success. He can be a culture guy for you. He can be a work ethic guy. If he's the first one in the weight room and you got a bunch of rookies and young dudes, they're going to look at him and say, well, if I want to be as good as Simmons, I better be in the weight room at 5 a.m. like he is.
It's a 3-year deal for $105 million, $100 million guaranteed, first defensive tackle in history with $100 million guaranteed deal.
Whew. Yeah, it's a lot.
What's your thoughts on it, Nikki?
I mean, great. For starters, congratulations to Jeffrey Simmons. He's finally getting paid for all of his hard work, trying to do his best to carry that Titans defensive team, especially over the past couple of years, particularly. So he at least and for the Titans standpoint, it's like, okay, we respect what you're doing. You're one of the guys we want to keep going forward. Let's pay you. Let's keep you around for now. So that's a smart move. Pay your best guy on your defensive line while you have the chance to, because you're going to need him going forward. Now, as far as the extension goes, not necessarily related to Simmons itself, but it's a long-term thing of, like we talked about before, this person at this position gets an extension. Now someone's going to try to top it. And then someone's going to try to top this extension at different positions. And over time, for teams, that can be detrimental given these extensions. Now, not necessarily so much for the Titans because, one, they're in a deep rebuild as is anyway. They got plenty of other problems they got to worry about long term. But now, but for this case itself for Simmons, hey, that's good that he got paid. And now, just hoping for the Titans, he still has the same fire and same dog in him that he's had the past couple years. You hope that the extension doesn't slow down his work ethic because, I mean, it could happen with certain players. It's happened before. Some players get paid and they lose a mid-motivation, but not saying well that's going to happen here, but at least with here, Jeffrey Simmons, you're talking about a dude one-on-one. You can't stop that guy one-on-one. You got to double team him and try to hope that you can work around the hole being filled through the double team on the play. But that's an important dude. Now you just get a few more pieces. You build up through the draft. Now you actually got a pretty solid defense you can build around. But at least you know, hey, you got this guy locked up for a few more years. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a force in that defensive line. So that's at least one good thing for the Titans. They still got a long ways to go in rebuilding, of course. You still got other things like Cam Ward's development. How do your draft turns? Does your draft pan out? Is your team at least better this year? Do you improve in the win total? But at least, but back to Simmons, yeah, that's a nice piece to have at least for these next couple of years for rebuilding. So good for him and good for the Titans. Just hopefully it doesn't backfire on them due to injuries or other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, obviously injuries would be a concern, but like James said, you know, at that position, you don't really have to worry about a loss of athleticism necessarily. You know, he's a big guy. He's going to continue to be big. He's going to continue to be a strong guy. A 3-year extension, that only takes you to 31. So you're not locked down super long term. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but they had the second most amount of cap room available, so they can front load that deal. And, I don't think it overly affects the future in a negative way. I think it only can positively affect the football team, gives these young defensive players someone to look up to. And Robert Saleh has a foundational piece that he can build his defense around. So I think it's a good move by the Titans. I want to discuss something that, kind of blew my mind at first. And I was like, this guy's tripping, but then I went and looked at the details of what he, behind what he said. And, I can't argue with the results. And I'm talking about Saquon Barkley and Nikki, your Philadelphia Eagles. Somehow we always get stuck talking about the Eagles on this channel. Surprise, surprise. But Saquon took issue with people not giving Nick Sirianni his respect. And excuse me, said that his stint here in Philadelphia has been legendary. And I said, legendary, not a Nick Sirianni guy by any means. But then I went and looked at what he has accomplished in his 5 years here with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have to admit that based upon what he's accomplished in these 5 years, he is on a path to be one of the better NFL head coaches that we've seen in recent history. And his first 5 years, you gotta put him in that elite list of all-time head coaches. And it's still early, like I said, but his 5 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's 59-26, highest winning percentage with a minimum of 50 games in NFL history. He's had 4 playoff appearances, 3 division titles, 2 Super Bowls, and a Super Bowl win. Is Nick Sirianni an elite head coach, and where would you put him in as far as the order of elite head coaches in the league as of right now? He's a top 10, top 15, top 5, top 2.
I would
Go
say
ahead,
he's
Nikki.
got to at least
This your
be top
team?
10, maybe lowest to number 6, because, I mean, although recent years I'd lean more towards Sirianni than Harbaugh, because Harbaugh, with the talent he had around him, they did underachieve a little bit. Now, that may be part Harbaugh, part the Ravens, a little bit of both, but I got to at least consider maybe the 5th best head coach currently, because through 5 years, he's had incredible success, and his resume on paper says, hey, he's a great head coach. Now, me personally, I mean, he does have his flaws as a coach. As far as whether that narrative sticks or not, it depends on where do the Eagles go over the next couple of years. Do they retain the pattern of success they've had through their first 5 years with Sirianni at the helm, or do they take a slight step back? That question obviously remains to be determined. But you look at the first 5 years. Year 1, took over a dumpster fire team fresh off a 4-11-1 season in a deep rebuild. First-year starter in Hurts. Devontae Smith, rookie. You didn't have a whole lot outside of that. You had the veterans on the offensive line. You had some decent pieces on defense, and they went to 9-win season. Granted, softer schedule, but still respectable. They came back the next year, dominated, made it to the Super Bowl, put up a hell of a fight against Kansas City in Super Bowl 57, fell short. Year 3, all right, the finish to that season left a bitter taste in our mouth, but they still finished with 11 wins and made the playoffs. All right, 3 years, 3 winning records, 3 playoffs. Year 4, we make it back to the big dance and win. All right, 4 seasons, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 4 playoff berths. All right, and a win in that stretch. All right, we're on a great trajectory. And even year 5, hey, they still made it back to the playoffs. And I got say, look, 5 straight seasons making the playoffs is never easy, regardless of the circumstances of how you got there. You got free agency, trades happening a lot more frequently in today's era than in the past, and you still manage to keep a foundation of making the playoffs repeatedly, making 2 Super Bowls and having a win, even with all the turnover at offensive coordinator throughout Sirianni's tenure. That's impressive. Even though his personality may be a little goofy, not the typical one Eagles fans prefer, but we can't deny he's had a success. Now, I do agree in this front. You got to at least consider him a top 5. And is it legendary within the Eagles organization? Absolutely. All time? To a certain extent, yes. But we guess, to me, the long-term story is let's see what happens over these next couple of years. Do they continue that trajectory or not? So I do think the way he worded it maybe was a little bit, overly favor of his coach, but it's his head coach. You're going to defend your head coach if you go out public 10 times out of 10. That's the smart thing to do as a player. So I don't blame Saquon one bit for going out there defending his coach. So I got no beef with what he said. Maybe some of what he said was maybe a little bit exaggerated, but I get it. Hey, any business, you're going to defend the person who leads the way if you speak publicly. Like if we went public at our jobs, we're going to defend our superior anytime.
Not me, sir. James, how do you feel? Nick Sirianni, legendary head coach.
I agree with Nikki to the extent that I feel like the resume needs to be continued to be filled out. It's still a small resume at this time. It's an impressive resume. He's doing a great job. But I feel like when you're talking about legendary coaches, you're talking about dudes that did it for 10, 15 plus years and maintained that success throughout time. So he's off to a great start. You know, we can't take that away from them. They've done a great job so far being so competitive, and getting to the Super Bowl twice in 5 years is an accomplishment in itself. I want to see what the next couple years do, because it felt to me like last year some things were just kind of not really clicking on all four cylinders. Are you able to rebuild this offensive line? There's been some transition going on there. You know, I don't know, did Lane Johnson officially retire yet? There's been a lot of talk about that. You know, you might have a lot of turnover going on there. So it's really important that he's able to maintain that success through the next generation of guys. You know, you're not going to have Saquon Barkley for forever, but having the foresight to bring him in and go get him when the rest of the league wasn't paying running backs was very clearly a good move. So there's things here that I like about what he's done so far with this organization. And I know some of this is going to be general manager stuff too. But a lot of it's heading in the right direction. I really like how the Eagles approach the draft too, of typically drafting guys a year or two before they need to throw them into the starting lineup. And I think that's exceedingly important on staying successful. When you get to the point where you're drafting and this guy's got to start right away, like we need him right now, that's not ideal for the player and not always ideal for the team either. But most teams in the league are in that situation. They don't get the draft a year or two in advance of the need. So I don't know. I think overall Sirianni's doing a good job, but I think it's a really, really important next couple of years because there's been a lot of grumblings, even on this show, of Philly fans not being real happy with how the offense is performing. There's a lot of talent there, and why isn't it clicking better? Why doesn't it look more prolific? Why doesn't it look just marching down the field more efficiently? So he's got to get that stuff straightened out and figure out what the next chapter looks like. But if his next 5 years is like the last 5 years, yeah, we're not going to have a choice but to talk about him as being a legendary coach.
Yeah, I'm not a Nick Sirianni guy. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles' success is largely due to the front office and the job that Howie Roseman's done there. I think he is probably the best general manager in football today. Because I mean, there'd be an argument with Ozzie Newsome with the Baltimore Ravens, but he's supposedly retired. But he's just done a fantastic job. Like you said, targeting positions a year or two before. He's just so far ahead of the game that, the Saquon Barkley, bringing him in and seeing, with this offensive line and just building the team the way that he has. I feel like Nick Sirianni is a very average coach at best. And, he's just, I feel like anybody could do the job Nick Sirianni's doing. And it could possibly do a better job. Yes, I mean he gets credit for the wins and the accomplishments. Is he legendary? No, obviously not. When you consider some coaches have coached for 30 years and he's only had 5 years, he's on a path where he's headed in that direction. But to me, he's just right place at the right time type of situation. And I think there's a lot of coaches that could get those Philadelphia Eagles to playoff bursts, Super Bowl wins. I don't want to take away too much credit from him, but I'm just not a Nick Sirianni guy. I feel he comes off cocky. He walks around with a mean ass little look on his face, and I think he's soft as baby shit, to be honest. And he just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is, man, but you know, he's won in the NFL. Yeah, I guess you got to give him some kind of credit, right? So it is what it is. Let's talk about, you know, we're getting ready for training camp to open here in the next few weeks, and pretty much rosters are, you know, teams will continue to make slight adjustments. They'll bring in a few players, but for the most part, I think teams are pretty much set for, you know, what they're going to look like opening day, besides releases and stuff, obviously. What team do you feel like has made the biggest leap forward this year and put themselves in the best position for a run at a Super Bowl this year, James?
That's
and it doesn't have to be one. I mean, you can name a couple.
I mean, the easy way out is to say the Rams, with the activity that they've done in bringing in talent from other teams. You know, going and getting Myles Garrett and then grabbing that cornerback as well. So obviously they're making some good moves. I like what Kansas City is doing too, with actually bringing in a talented running back. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone that someone would think Kansas City could make a run again. But there just has been a lack at the running back position for them for so long. It's either been a guy that's a shifty dude or a power dude, and nobody really in between. And I really like their running back, man. That dude is just explosive. He was an explosive dude at Michigan State. He had some nice years with Seattle, and that playoff run last year was just incredible. So I expect big things out of him this year, which is just going to open up the offense. And it needs to, because teams were in a situation where they didn't have to worry about the run with them. You could just sit back and drop 8 guys into coverage, and you know, Mahomes was almost always hurt, so he couldn't really scramble that much anymore. And I don't know. I feel like they did some good moves there. And when you're in a situation where you feel like you're just a couple pieces away, man, yeah, push your chips in. Push your chips in and trade for some elite dudes and see if you can't win it once or twice before your older guys retire. I think that's a real huge thing for the Rams there, is how much time does Stafford have left? You know, we were talking about him last offseason as – was he even going to be healthy to play? They were talking about his back was so bad they wasn't sure if he was going to be ready at the beginning of the season. And then he puts an awesome performance together last season, wins the MVP of the league. Like, how many more years of that do we have, though? Is Stafford one nasty hit away from being done? I don't know. But you got to feel like he's getting close to the end. So make your push now while you can. And yeah, that's going to be a fun division again, man. Those guys are going to be just beating the crap out of each other. The Seahawks and the Rams and the Niners too, if they're healthy ever. So yeah, I guess that's where I would jump out at immediately there.
Nikki?
James nailed the ball on the head there. You got the Rams, of course, obviously. Kansas City's another team that obviously is going to be in contention. You got Kenneth Walker. You got Mahomes coming back. Pretty obvious there. And those are the main teams that have made a push to go all in. Now, I'm not saying they've necessarily made a push, but it'll be interesting with the Bills. Will Joe Brady make a difference for them? That's the question I'm kind of curious about, because we've seen sometimes all it takes is a change at coach and a team elevates easily. We've seen the Indianapolis Colts go from Jim Morris Sr. to Tony Dungy. That helped elevate them. But even then, that took a few years. Or we've seen Tony Dungy in Tampa maybe just wasn't the right fit. It was best for both sides to move on. I'm kind of curious how that's going to work out. Is that going to make a difference come playoff time for them? We got to wait and see on that one. But I mean, pretty much, like you said, the Rams, obviously, they're going all in, Super Bowl or bust again. We'll see if it pays off in the end this time around. And then, of course, Kansas City's another one that's made that push to go all in. think the Patriots are trying to make that push, going for A.J. Brown, trying to help give them that explosive receiver on offense that could maybe break the game open a little bit more than last year. But question is, with a harder schedule this year, do you retain that momentum? Is last year's efficiency sustainable again this year? Because we've seen teams who put it all together one season, but then after that, it just wasn't sustainable in the long term. We'll have to see if the Patriots, which end of the fence the Patriots are on.
Yeah, I think the only correct answer is the Los Angeles Rams, right? You know, you look at this team; they made it to the NFC Championship game last year, and then you go and you trade for Trent McDuffie, one of the better corners in this league. Yeah, you also signed Jalen Watson, who's a young, talented corner from the Kansas City Chiefs, also, and then you make the huge trade for Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a difference maker for that defense. And if Aaron Donald decides to come out of retirement, how dangerous is that Rams team? You know what I mean? You look at the offensive side. Of course, you got Matthew Stafford if he can remain healthy. You got a good running game. You got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams at the receiver position. You know, I just wish they might obviously they were trying to get a replacement for Matthew Stafford for the future, but going all in, I think I would have liked to have seen them add a different piece in the first round of the draft besides a backup quarterback. You know what I mean? You could have always addressed the quarterback position. It's not like I think Simpson was this god at the quarterback position that you absolutely couldn't pass up. I would have liked to have seen them add another piece. You know, could you imagine adding a tight end like Kenyon Sadiq or to this offense, or even a third wide receiver that, you know, most of them were available? You know, they could have made this team even more dangerous. But I think the Rams are by far and away the favorite for the Super Bowl this year. But it does rely on Matthew Stafford remaining healthy. His back is in bad shape. It's been in bad shape for years. And I do think he is one hit away from going on IR or being done for the season. And, you know, this is a very physical game, and teams know that. And teams know that the Rams are one of the better teams in this league. And, you know, teams are gonna not hold back when they're hitting Matthew Stafford. So they got to make sure that they protect Matthew Stafford. But yeah, I think the Rams by far did the most this offseason to catapult themselves up into that, you know, Super Bowl or bust. Last time they went and made moves like this, they went out and got Von Miller. They went out and got Jalen Ramsey, and it led to a Super Bowl championship. You know, I feel like they are headed down that road again. And yeah, I like the Rams a lot.
It's tough not to, right? I mean, it just seemed like they addressed all the most important things this offseason. You know, getting pressure on the quarterback and covering the top wide receiver of the other team. You just made your defense so much better in those two additions. It's just crazy to me. So why more teams don't make a push like that when they're in that run, I don't know.
So I got a little trivia question. How many teams have gone from worst in the division to Super Bowl champions all time?
Worst in the division.
They were at the bottom of their division to Super Bowl champions the next year.
Let me say like 2 maybe in NFL history.
Nick, you got a guess?
Say 4.
It is 4. Would you like to try to name them?
The 2017 Eagles,
That's
09 Saints.
He looked it up. Nobody got that on the top of the head. Stop it. Go ahead.
99 Rams.
Don't act like you can know. '99 Rams and the 2001 Patriots.
Okay, I got 3 of 4.
So that leads into my next. Yo, you did not know those. Stop it. Stop it. You had
I
those.
knew 2
you
of the
had-
4 off the top of my head.
All right. But anyway, that leads to my next topic. Which team that finished last in their division this prior year has the best opportunity to go from worst in the division to Super Bowl contender?
I think it's an easy one. I'm looking at the divisions last year. I'll give you guys, if you don't have it in front of you, I'll make it easy for you. So we're talking the Jets, the Browns, the Tennessee Titans, the Raiders, the Giants, the Detroit Lions, the New Orleans Saints, and the Cardinals. And I think the Lions is the easy one on this.
Yes.
I don't think any of the other teams are even going to be remotely good this year. Maybe the Giants might be better than they were last year, but I don't see them making a Super Bowl run. So I got to go Lions on that just because I feel like last year was an injury-plagued year, and with a healthy team, they should be able to compete in the playoffs again. Will they make it to the Super Bowl? I'm not going to necessarily predict that, but of all those teams, I think they have the best chance by a mile.
So let's make it a little bit more difficult because that obviously the Lions were the only correct answer there. Of all the non-playoff teams last year, which teams have the best chance to compel themselves up to Super Bowl contender, championship game contender? So that leaves in the AFC, you got the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Colts, Dolphins, Browns, Jets, Raiders, Titans. In the NFC, you got the Cowboys, Lions, Vikings, Bucks, Falcons, Saints, Commanders, Giants, and Cards. So that's a little more wide variety that I think
it is.
So a few of those be considerably better.
Say NFC, possibly the Giants.
Yeah, I don't want to say Chiefs just because it seems like a gimme because of last year without Mahomes. I'm also not that big of a believer on the Ravens this year, even though they didn't make the playoffs last year, and I would expect them to make the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to be good enough to make a run. Way too much turnover on that roster from last year to this year, and with a new coaching staff too, I don't expect them to be drastically better, if better at all. So, man,
They did add the pass rusher Trey Henderson.
Yeah, they picked up Hendrickson, which was obviously a help, but they lost Odafe Owe, and Hendrickson's issues against the run are as legendary as Nick Sirianni right now. So it's a real problem there, and one of the reasons it's since they didn't lock him up long term. Yeah.
What did the Bengals do on the defensive side of the football? They added Dexter Lawrence, right?
They got Lawrence. And
with that offense, if Joe Burrow can stay healthy,
and that's it. They didn't really do anything for the offensive line again. So, like year after year, they're not bringing anybody in free agency that's significant. They're not doing much in the draft. I want to say they added somebody in like the 6th round, or no, Connor Lew was the big addition, the center that was like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Like they got to do so much.
They're still hitting 30. They're still hitting 30 plus a game. You know what I mean? It's just about Joe Burrow staying healthy. If he can take that beating. So, I mean, if that defense can be even a little bit better, you know what I mean? The Bengals are a dangerous team.
It needs to be better. It was one of the worst defenses in league history last year. Everybody had their best performances against the Bengals. So you couldn't even look at what any team did against the Bengals and say, oh, well, there's the potential of being this good. It was unrealistic. It was like playing a college defense. So they have to be better. But, yeah, I don't know that they did enough, man. I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, man, the Bengals are so much better. Yeah, Dexter Lawrence is a great player, but he's only one man. And they need to address a lot more on that defense for me to have some kind of confidence that it's going to be significantly better.
So on the NFC side, what about a team like the Cowboys? obviously they're trying to make a trade with the Dolphins for Jordan Brooks, which I think that would help the Dallas Cowboys considerably. But I mean, they got a explosive offense. You know, Dak Prescott, you got George Pickens, you got CD Lamb. You know, defensively they got some pieces.
I think that's literally the
I can see
Bengals
them
of the
making a
NFC.
beat.
Like, it's a really potent offense with no defense. So I think that's what they got to figure out over there. They've been trying to get a linebacker all off season, and apparently haven't addressed it still, as they're still attempting to try to get a linebacker. So I could see them getting into the playoffs. Absolutely. I think there's plenty of talent there to get into the playoffs. But I mean, once you get into playoffs, you better have some kind of defense.
How about the Vikings or the Bucks? You know, if the Vikings could get anything out of Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah. It would be, yeah, and there's a chance it could happen, too. He's got a better team around him. And the crazy thing is sometimes you never know in football. Like, you look back historically at some of the teams that made a run, you look back and you're like, nobody expected anything going into the season, such as, say, the 99 Rams or the 03 Panthers when they made it to Super Bowl 38, just to name a few. I could name more. The 2021 Bengals. Anybody with no expectations entering the season, or the Patriots last year, could surprise everyone and make a run. And here we are in November. We're like, wait, this team's balling? This team's in contention to make the playoffs? Possibly a run? I mean, it always happens.
It's got to be Kyler for them, right? Like, it's got to be Kyler. He has to ball out for Minnesota to be good again. I think there's plenty of good pieces there. Both sides of the football, honestly. I think Minnesota's a pretty good football team, but J.J. McCarthy was just so bad. And if Mitch, if you're watching, I'm sorry to trash your boy. I know how much you love him. But J.J.'s just been bad in the NFL so far. And if Kyler can even play to like 3/4 of the best that he was at times in Arizona, then I think you could see Minnesota take a leap. But I wouldn't count out Baker Mayfield this year either, because he's playing for his NFL life right now. He's in the middle of a contract debate. He's put a date on it and said, if it's not done by this time, I'm just playing under my current contract, and that's all there is to it. I think it's probably a smart move on his part to bet on himself, because he's got enough good tape out there that if he goes to free agency, he's going to get paid. So if they don't pay him, someone will, because there's enough teams that just year after year can't find their guy. And he's not that old yet. You could still have a good 5 or 6 years of top-end play for what he has in him. And at times, Baker's been just absolutely brilliant. It just seems like when he gets dinged up and gets injured, that's when his play drops off, because he plays through absolutely every injury, even broken collarbones. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Baker was able to get Tampa to really roll. But, yeah, I see your point on both of them, man. I think both of them could be some definite options. Baker's just a fun player to watch too, man. I like Baker.
Yeah, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. He's just a ball player, man. He's just a guy that's going to go out there, and it doesn't matter. He's going to do what it takes to need what his team needs him to do to win, and he doesn't. He throws his body on the line and does what needs to be done. Breakout players. Who are your breakout players for the 2026 NFL season? These can be guys that, you know, maybe have suffered an injury last year and didn't get a chance to perform. You know, second-year players coming off their rookie years, maybe looking to explode, or, you know, guys that have been in the league for a few years and just haven't hit their stride yet.
I'm real interested to see what happens this upcoming season with Parker Washington. He took on a much bigger role with Jacksonville's offense last year and actually unseated some first-round talent wide receivers. So with an off season of planning for him to be a key person in that offense, I'm really excited to see what Parker can put out there, because I loved him in Penn State when he was playing college ball. His ability to get those jump balls in win contested catch situations. He's real strong after the catch too. So I'm excited to see what Parker Washington can do this upcoming season for the Jags. I'll go a little bit homerish here, and for Pittsburgh, I'm going to say it's Peyton Wilson, the middle linebacker, a really highly athletic linebacker. His 40-yard dash was in like the low 4.4s last year. He caught Jordan Addison from behind in a chase down situation, ran him down and kept him out of the end zone. He's most likely going to get a starting role this season. He was kind of in an intermittent usage and passing downs, not used as much in rundown situations. And he still led the team in tackles with like 130 tackles, and he wasn't even a full-time starter. So I think Peyton Wilson is going to have a real big year. The new coaching staff is talking about weaponizing him, which I love, because when you got a guy that athletic and he can blitz from the outside or the inside, do it. Don't make him just sit back there and react to everything. Let him go attack, because when you're that explosive and you're 6'4", 245 pounds at middle linebacker, let him go make some plays and dial some stuff up for him, draw it up for him. So I'm real excited to see what he does. I think he's going to be a real impact player for the Steeler defense this year.
Nikki?
I mean, we saw last year. Here's a guy from Indianapolis last year who had a
Nikki, I think you're muted, bud.
No, I can hear him.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You got Latia Latu, could end up being a guy that has a really phenomenal year this year and could end up making a big difference. Here's another one, Rome O'Dunes, with Caleb Williams having another year of experience under his belt and him having a pretty solid year last year. This could be his year. He really shines as a star for the Bears, and could be having a nice little 1-2 duo there with DJ Moore and O'Dunes. Maybe he could potentially break out and eventually be the number one guy if he's that good. Or he could just be a phenomenal number two, similar to a Devontae Smith or similar to what Jalen Waddle was with the Dolphins before the trade to the Broncos. There's someone right there that could be really good too. Right there.
Yeah, to me, I like and I'm gonna butcher his name.
Go ahead.
Brylan Tootin. Is that how you say his name? The running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah,
running back for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Listen, I think this kid has all the potential in the world. Obviously, he's going to get an opportunity to get a lot more carries this year. I like him a lot. Parker Washington, like you said, I love Parker Washington. I think he is phenomenal. I think he's a star in the making. I think, he had a great year last year, and I think he's just going to continue to build on that. The fact that you got a wide receiver room with Brian Thomas and, Travis Hunter in it, and yet he's still in there making plays like that. I think he's phenomenal defensively.
Here's a guy.
Nick Emelory,
the Bishop for the Bills. Name I just thought of.
Nick Emelory, the safety for the Seattle Seahawks. I think he has just all pro written all over him. He's big, fat. I mean, he's 6'3". He runs a 4.3 something. Like, he's just, he is fantastic. I think he's going to have a tremendous year, a tremendous career, and I think he's going to showcase himself as one of the best safeties in the league moving forward. So those are two guys that I really have my sights set on. But yeah, there's a lot of young players that I'm interested in seeing this year. A lot of guys that have breakout potential. To a side says DJ Moore is with the Bills. Yeah, like DJ Moore could have, Josh Allen. Josh Allen, we all know that he is a fantastic quarterback, and I think DJ Moore gives him the best receiver he's had there since Diggs. Gives him a reliable option. So that Bills offense could rely heavily on DJ Moore. I could see him having a huge year for the Bills. But yeah, a lot of players that could break out this year. I want to get your opinion on this real quick. What's your one sleeper team that you could see making it to the Super Bowl this year? Just like your absolute sleeper team.
Trying to think of a good one here for you.
I'll start it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers. You know, the Chargers, maybe they're not a super sleeper team, but the Chargers, I think another year under John Harbaugh, they added Mike McDaniel as their offensive coordinator. And listen, I think Mike McDaniel is one of the true brilliant minds on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, he had his issues as being the head coach, but offensively, this guy is brilliant. I think with Justin Herbert's skill set, that offense is just going to be lights out this year. The offensive line, that's where they struggled last year. Justin Herbert had a great year last year, but the offensive line was just in shambles. If that offensive line can get healthy, they got some first round picks on that offensive line that just weren't healthy last year. I could see that Chargers team just being absolutely fantastic this year and making a Super Bowl run.
I'm going to go a different team over on the opposite side and go with the Bears, man. I really liked what the Bears did in the draft this offseason. Half of their picks I was really hoping that Pittsburgh would take. So that tells you how I feel about their draft. And just overall, I thought they made some nice moves to go in the right direction. And coming off of a year where they had better success than many would have had them having. So, yeah, I'm going to go Bears as my kind of like off-the-wall dark horse team to make it to the Super Bowl.
I was thinking the same thing. You stole mine. I was going to go with Bears, too.
If you ask Dolphin fans, they're going to the AFC Championship game at the very least. But, yeah. That'd be truly sleeper team. Put your money on the Dolphins. They're going. All right, let's do a couple trivia questions, and then we'll get out of here a little bit early since it's Father's Day. Let people go. You know, James gotta feed the animals and his little fur babies. You got kids?
I do not have any kids, if that was directed at me.
No, Nick, you got kids?
No.
I got kids. Yeah, they're both 15. They better today. But anyway, I got two trivia questions. First up, which NFL franchise has the most playoff appearances all time?
Who's been good over all the years? What about the Niners? Let me guess the Niners.
Negative, not in the top 5.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
They are third. Well, tied for second.
Packers.
The Packers are number 1 at 38 playoff appearances. Pittsburgh's tied for number 2 with Dallas at 36. The Rams, surprisingly, with 34. And then the Giants with 33. But the Giants are one of those, the Giants and those Green Bay, they're some of the older teams in the NFL. You know what I mean? So Pittsburgh's been great for a lot of years. So not surprising that Pittsburgh's on there. All right, next question. Name the first African-American Heisman Trophy winner.
Ernie Davis.
That is correct. He's actually from my hometown. He's buried about 3 blocks from me.
Who was it?
Ernie Davis.
Okay.
Ernie Davis, 1961 Cleveland Browns. How many games did Ernie Davis play in his career?
120.
He didn't play.
0. He died of leukemia before he could get He died of leukemia before he could play a game.
Oh wow, that's
23 years old. He was the number 1 draft pick for the Cleveland Browns. Jim Brown actually was either going to retire or retired because they had drafted Ernie Davis. Jim Brown was like his idol. Used to come to Elmira all the time and was like his dude. And yeah, Ernie Davis was diagnosed with leukemia and died before he could ever play professional football.
Wow.
But the first Black Heisman Trophy winner ever. Yep. Definitely cool. Anything you guys got? Anything you guys want to talk about? Anything you want to chat up? Anything going on with your teams?
Nothing crazy going on with mine. What are you guys' thoughts on Brendan Sorsby? You think anybody's going to jump on him in the supplemental draft?
I mean, I'm sure someone will take a shot at him. You had said before we got on live if I thought the Dolphins would take a shot on him. You know, the Dolphins got Malik Willis. They got Quinn Ewers, who's a young quarterback that showed some potential last year, in my opinion. I just don't see why they would, if Malik's not the answer, I feel like you have no choice but to address the quarterback position in next year's draft. But to me, I think Malik is the answer. I think Malik, as long as he can remain healthy, is going to be I think he has the opportunity to be a fantastic quarterback. He's got the skill set. He's got the tools. He's just got to show he can do it for 17 games. And so I don't think the Dolphins are necessarily concerned about the quarterback position. Quinn Ewers had a really good offseason so far, so I don't see why the Dolphins would take a shot at him, but you never know.
Let's see. And for me, I don't have anything to say about the Eagles right now. I mean, the A.J. Brown thing's done. It's over. Now we just got to wait till camp, see who makes it through camp healthy, see who's officially on the roster come the start of the regular season, and then just go from there.
Yeah, this is a slow time of year. Like I said, my Dolphin fans, I'm having a lot of trouble with, the fan base. Just they want to be optimistic, and I understand it. I do. But if you look at what we got and what we lost, I just don't see how the fans believe that. Like they're really talking 9 games floor, 11 games, 12 games ceiling, and they're dead serious. And I constantly feel like I'm bashing my own team because I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. Some of the best teams that we've had over the last 30 years haven't won 11 games, and we're expecting this team to win 11 games. Like, I just, if anything, the Miami Dolphins, if we're one thing, it's not lucky. And all of a sudden, everything is going to go right for us. We have a complete lack of depth on this team at the very least. And to think that we're going to remain healthy all year, like, come on. This is a team that is typically one of the most injured teams in the NFL. And yes, we have new coaches. We have new people in the building. So hopefully that does make a difference. But to put such great expectations on these first-year head coaches, first-year general manager, first-year starting quarterback, I think it's unfair and unrealistic. And I think it's going to do more damage than good. Instead of looking at this team and looking at the positives that can come out of this year as far as player development, seeing that we have the head coach of the future, watching the young guys get better. We're sitting there and we're putting all these hefty expectations on this football team that there's no way that they're going to be able to live up to. And I think that, that leads to teams being people being disappointed in the team, teams feeling like we didn't achieve what we were supposed to. And I just don't see how people are so naive to the fact of what the Miami Dolphins currently have. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we're building something positive, but we're not there yet. This is a rebuild, and this is the first year of the rebuild. To expect a playoff win and playoff positioning, is just absurd to me. Do you see something different looking at the Dolphins from the outside?
No, man.
Maybe I'm just delusional.
Yeah, I have a tough time disagreeing with you on it because it's just they made so many moves for the future. These are moves that you got to do. You got to turn the roster over when you're trying to do these kind of things. And typically you just don't expect to win a ton at the beginning of a rebuild. It's just not what happens. So if it does happen, fantastic. But yeah, I would be with you on kind of cautioning people on that.
Yeah, and it's just like, we see it all the time. Teams who are going through a deep rebuild, a complete roster overhaul, it's usually going to take a few years before anything significant happens. You see the Houston Texans in the early portion of the decade, they were going through a complete rebuild. Coaching turnover, roster overhaul, it took till 2023 to start seeing significant results. So, it's probably going to take some time. You're not going to win a whole lot of games this year, but if you start playing better and being more competitive as the season goes along, that's at least a realistic positive sign for the future. Similar to what happened with the Lions in 2021. They didn't win a lot, but you saw they were competitive in their games, and that gave them hope for the future. And then the next year is when they started to put it together, going from 3 to 9 wins, then the NFC Championship game the year after, home field advantage after that. Last year, take away the injuries, they probably are at least in the playoffs. So it does take a few years, realistically. Your best shot is, okay, you're at least competitive this year.
I think people are looking at it that we went and signed a quarterback, and he's got to be better than what Tua was last year. And, this running game, we were able to keep some pieces like Devon Achane, who had a great year for us, and Patrick Paul, and we had a all-pro, center, and, we have some pieces on defense, Jordan Brooks, and, we have some pieces, so people don't necessarily see it as a full rebuild, and they just see that Malik Willis is going to be such an upgrade over what Tua was for us last year. And last year we were a bad team and won 7 games. How are we not winning 10 games? But you don't realize that even if Jalen Waddle wasn't great, we lost Jalen Waddle. He's still better than any receiver we have on this football team. We still lost Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was better than any safety we had on this team. Rasul Douglas played lights out for us last year. He's no longer on this team. Bradley Chubb, who wasn't great, but was our best pass rusher, was our best defensive end. He's no longer with the team. Jalen Phillips, he wasn't great with us either, but he was still better than most of the pieces that we still have. So they're not realizing how much we truly lost. And they're just having these expectations on the rookies to come in and be stars from day one. And it's just going to lead to a lot of hurt feelings, in my opinion, and a lot of expectations that can't be met. But I just wanted to jump into that for a second. I appreciate you guys. Sorry it was a little not like usual with Mitch in the building, but I tried my best,
Yeah, appreciate it, man. You come up with some interesting subjects. So,
all right, guys, let them know where they can find you, and everybody have a happy Father's Day. You can find me on the Finn Posse podcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I took last week off a little bit because, hey, it's the dead part of the year, but I'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week.
You can catch me tomorrow on the 3-Point Blitz, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. If the weather permits, we'll be out here. And then Tuesday, going live for the NBA draft opening round, 7:30 at Agent Warrior X.
And Nick's done, right? I can't hear him. I don't want to cut him off. All right, cool. Just doing our weekly show every Saturday morning. So still breaking down the roster here. We had our middle linebacker conversation yesterday morning on the position battle there. So next week we'll be jumping into the secondary, talking corners and safeties. So trying to keep the ball rolling. We'll have some roster predictions coming out soon too.
I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your Sundays. And again, happy Father's Day. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Hardcore sports, Sunday in the zone. Yeah, welcome home. Hey. Mitch in the chair, steam on the coffee, breaking down tape, sleep looking costly, green in his notes, birds on his cap, talking about trenches, blitz, block, snap. Bo got a ring, West Coast breeze, stories from confetti still stuck in his sleeves. James C's black gold, whole town rides, Big C talk waves where the tide line slides. It's that Sunday morning podcast. Come on, turn it up loud. From the first hot take to the last cold crown. Mitch, Bo, James, Big C talk ball. Every call, every draw, every brawl, every ball. If you love this game, you know this sound. Hardcore sports, we run this town. Oh yeah. Mitch say Philly fly, Bo say skyline. James pull stats right off the sideline. Big C laugh, talk speed on the seam. Whole squad argue same love, one dream. Red zone rush, fourth down hush. Overtime talk, heart rate crush. From east to the west, down coast to steel. It's a barbershop talk, just mics, just real. Sunday morning podcast. On, turn it up loud. From the first hot take to the last cold crowd. Mitch, Bo, James, Big C talk ball. Every call, every draw, every brawl, every brawl. If you love this game, you know this sound. Hardcore sports, we run this town. Oh yeah. Call in, tap in, let the takes fly. We debate, celebrate, ride or die. Same gridiron, 4 different views, one game, one love. That's hard. It's that Sunday morning podcast. Oh, turn it up loud. From the first hot take to the last cold crowd. Mitch, Bo, James, Big C talk ball. Every call, every call, every draw, every ball. If you love this game, you know this sound. Hardcore sports, we run this town. Hardcore, hardcore, hardcore.